Welcome to this LinkedIn Live talk show with a special guest who is going to talk today about legal project management. I am live with Isabel Venegas, who is in Barcelona, who is going to tell you a lot of things she knows and she uses in her day-to-day work as a legal project manager. Thanks, Isabel, for being with us today.
Thank you for the invitation, Tessa. Always a pleasure.
Isabel has a lot of experience at the intersection of legal project management as well legal design. And today we decided to organize this short conversation to share some real life insights from Isabel to really help you understand what's legal project management, how you can use it in your day-to-day work, because it will really make a big difference delivering on time, delivering on scope, avoiding micromanagement. I think Isabel is going to talk a little bit about that as well.
Yes, of course.
And really get to create the perfect experience for your customers and for your team as well. So before we start officially this conversation, I would like to ask everybody who is watching live to actually engage with us in the chat. I see the notification on LinkedIn is now out. We are live. We have 5 people watching live. Let us know. We have Marina saying hello. This is so great. Please let us know where in the world you are tuning in from. And also, please let us know. As well if you can share this with your network, because there's going to be a lot you're going to learn. And at the end of this LinkedIn Live, we're going to give away a prize to one of you who's attending live. And so if you share, you're helping us spread the news. We appreciate that a lot. So I highly encourage you to be active throughout this talk. Now, Isabel, maybe you want to share a little bit about your background before we dive into the nuts and bolts of legal project management.
Perfect. Thank you, Tessa. Well, I'm a Chilean lawyer. I specialize in corporate law in Chile. I have a background on working in in-house companies, construction companies, IT companies, and also law firms. I started working from very early stage with professionals from other disciplines, for example, engineering, IT, finance. So I started getting very early contact with project management techniques and with different approaches to solve problems besides the legal way to do it. So I decided at some point in my career to come to Barcelona to get a master's degree. I came here 4 years ago. I fell in love with the city. With my husband, we stay here. We're living here since 2016. And now I'm working in a law firm who is taking the transformation into a more customer-centric approach to solve problems, which is perfect because it allows me to combine legal design thinking techniques and legal project management as well. So it's been a perfect experience for me.
Thanks, Isabel, for taking the time to introduce yourself and also for being live here today to talk a little bit about legal project management. I have a question for you to get this started. Please tell us a little bit, what is project management and how it can be useful for legal professionals? So we'd love to hear a little bit more about, just as an introduction. Can you tell us a bit more?
Perfect. Of course, because this is a very practical conversation, I don't want to give you like a very theoretical definition of project management. For me, project management is a human approach to solve problems, to become more productive, and to organize your daily work. This is, for me, the basis of project management. It's very useful for legal professionals because as lawyers, sometimes we're wired to be very silo-minded. We tend to focus and zoom in a very specific area of a problem. For example, area of expertise. If I'm, for example, a corporate lawyer, I will focus in the corporate issue for the problem. And project management, what it does is that pushes you to have a 360 or a wider overview of an issue. So you can tackle every challenge that the client needs to be tackled in a way that's very wholesome and very organic. It forces you to collaborate with others that maybe are not lawyers, maybe are other professionals, and it forces you to step out of your comfort zone. So I think for lawyers, it's very important to understand that being a lawyer is a very technical it's a very technical technique, it's a very technical background, it's a very technical approach to solve problems, but you need to have a broader image of what you're doing. Otherwise, your client is going to be disappointed, or you're not going to actually accomplish the outcomes they're expecting from you.
Yeah, this is so true. I think we all agree here that the law is extremely technical, and that we also need to be able to translate those technicalities in a way that is going to be easier for the client, and as well as for other professionals, right? Who you mentioned, like working in collaboration. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Like, how do you see this helping collaboration and customer experiences? This is also what you're doing in the law firm you're working on.
First of all, you need to get people motivated, and in order to do that, you need to set a purpose or get people behind a common goal. This is very important, that you're all aligned in terms of what you're doing, what's the outcome expected, and you really feel connected and engaged with the project. It could be maybe a more emotional connection with the project. For example, you're working for a nonprofit organization. It could be a connection more related with efficiency, with having maybe a reward. It has to be something behind a purpose that you share with the team, because this is the first step. Because otherwise, you're not going to have the same engagement. You need to have everybody on the same page. And for to do this, what I do, I like to have, for example, kickoff meetings with my team, so I can brief them about a project, give them all the necessary information, motivate them, assign tasks that are challenging for them and are actually according to their talents. To do that, you need to really know your people, know your team, know your client, the style of work the client really needs. It's a very insightful kind of work, but it's very commonsensical as well. You don't need to be an expert of project management. It's not rocket science. But I think it's very important to bring people together towards the same goal. In order to do that, you can use a lot of legal design techniques, brainstorming sessions, and that's why I think this is so important to have these two together, legal project management and legal design thinking.
Yeah, this is so true. And so I understand that legal project management is really about being able to better manage projects. But I'm sure there's a lot of mistakes that we do as legal professional that we may not even be aware of. How can legal project management help us avoid those mistakes? So, in other words, what are the most common mistakes we do and that we could solve using this methodology? Do you have some examples or things you would like to share with our audience? And I see the audience is really engaged all the way from Brazil, Chile, Nigeria. Make sure to share with your network. Again, this is great to have you live, and make sure to ask your questions and your comments. So let's hear a little bit about the common mistakes to avoid and how we can fix them with legal project management.
I think, first of all, the first mistake you always try to avoid when you're doing project management is the first one is to avoid micromanagement. Project management is not about controlling people, it's not about being overbearing, it's not about assigning tasks randomly to people without taking into consideration their talents or their expertise. I think it's very important, for example, when you're working a project, sometimes as a lawyer, we listen to the client, but we always listen to the part that really interested to us. We don't listen to the whole problem, for example. If a client comes to you and has an issue with the business, you tend to zoom in the legal part of the business, not in the business issue or the business problem. So I think empathy is really important here, to be able to listen, and also to avoid, overcommitting. This is, for me, this is an issue that I really have to acknowledge that I suffer from. Sometimes I try to, bite more than I can chew. So you need to be mindful of the resources at hand, what you have, the time you need to approach a project. In the scoping part, you need to be mindful of other people's time. When you talk about resources, we always think about resources about maybe your laptop, paper, tangible things. You need to think about people's time. This is the most important resource you need to manage, because it is all about people and expectations. So I think the most common mistake is to assume, for example, that you understand the client when you don't because you don't listen, or also to assume that they want you to know all the answers. It's very important for you to ask as much questions as you need to ask, to get it right from the beginning. And then the project will actually run more smoothly and will run easily as if you just make assumptions or you randomly start working without having the proper tools in place.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we can all relate to that. As experts, we tend to think that everybody understands what we're trying to say, right? And I think
Exactly.
this is very true for legal professionals who are actually having a lot of technical knowledge, but the customers, they have a business problem and they have business objectives. Or maybe you working for people, individuals, they have objectives in their life. They're trying to achieve things, buy a new house and get a new job or get a new position. And so how do we translate that into a more accessible language? I think this is really interesting. So biggest mistakes to avoid, like lacking empathy, communicating in a too complex way, not being mindful of the resources that you have, so kind of overestimating what you can deliver, and that can cause you to actually deliver either not on scope, late, not exactly what was promised, and I'm pretty sure it could cause a lot of stress as well. Do you think project management can help us kind of manage stress better? What do you think about that?
I think when I think about project management, I always think about happiness. It's funny, but project management well done, it means that your team is happy, your client is happy, nobody's overworked, nobody's actually burned out. You need to take care of your team and your client by by organizing things properly, so the project doesn't crash in the way. In order to do that, you need to identify bottlenecks. You need to have often checkouts with your team, how they're doing, if you need any help. Sometimes what I do is I host like weekly stand-up meeting, maybe 15 minutes, just to talk about what they're doing, what their difficulties this week. And also some clients, depends on their style, for example, they like to be more involved in the project or less involved. When they want to be really involved, I try to craft a different communication plan. So I try to keep them on the loop very often. Sometimes they don't want to be bothered. They just want a very nice outcome. So they will communicate with you less often. So I think it's very important that you really understand and read the room, read the people, and take care of the people. So you take care of the people and they really understand that they really, you're behind or you're aligned with their expectations and with their purpose, it's gonna show in a positive way. So that's what I think project management really brings happiness.
I love that. Lego project management is about making your team happy, your client happy, and your boss happy too, right? So this is just a perfect combination. How can we get to improve our skills? What are the skills we need to learn to actually achieve that? Make our teams happy, make our clients happy using the Lego project management techniques and methodologies. And thank you to all the live viewers, Beatriz, Sangueta. We have a lot of great people watching. Francisco from Chile, from lawyer living in Spain. Nice to see you. Pedro.
Nice.
This is nice. Keep sharing with your network because we want to spread the news about Lego project management and reach out to even more Lego professionals. So share with your network so we can bring more people to this live to get to discover now what are the skills that we need to enhance to be better at managing projects and avoiding those terrible mistakes?
First of all, you need to have leadership skills. If you're going to lead a project, you need to really understand what the client is asking for. You really need to be assertive in how to communicate with your team and externally. This is very important. To be a leader doesn't mean to be bossy. It doesn't mean to be overbearing and to micromanage the process. To be a leader means that you really know your team, take care of your team, know your people, know the outcomes you need to be doing, and really try to conduct a project in a way that's actually organically developing in a sense of being really in a result that the client is expecting. It's very often that sometimes we see people who are very hands-off or very hands-on. You need to find a middle point because absent leadership is also an issue. For example, you really give all the freedom you want to your team and you just forget about it and you just fully trust them, this is good. But sometimes you need to have a little bit of control or to oversee or to assist or to mentor your team in order to produce an outcome. So it depends on what kind of project you're working on, what kind of team, what kind of outcome is expected. leadership skills are really number one for me. Then it's time management. In terms of, if, for example, you're working solo or you're working with a very small team, you need to be mindful of what they're doing, and you need to avoid, for example, scheduling too many meetings, or to overwork them with a lot of tasks, or sometimes, try to write long emails and give them a lot of reading material they don't need, or really overwork them with a lot of tasks and really duplicate it, or trying to, for example, this is very often I've seen in my experience, you have sometimes project managers that they think that the teams should have the same set of skills. So they expect that everybody in the team works the same way at the same pace. This is not okay. You need to be mindful of people's skills. Some are going to be faster to do something, some will be slower. So you need to know about that first. So that is what a good leader and a good time manager does. You need to, follow the pace of the project. Then it will be communication skills. But in terms of communication skills, it's very different if you're working, for example, in a cross-cultural environment. You need to be mindful of cultural differences, how they communicate with each other, or when you work with people with different backgrounds. It's not the same to communicate with other lawyers, to communicate with a procurement expert or an IT person or an engineer is super different. This is when plain language comes to play, and you need to avoid the legalese and try to communicate with them in a way that's engaging and it's clear.
This is so interesting, Isabel. I'm really enjoying this live conversation, and I see the audience as well is really enjoying it. Julian is tuning in from Brazil, loving your approach and leadership. We have Cecilia from Buenos Aires, Argentina, Armel from France. This is so great to hear your feedback on the chat. Make sure to stay engaged. We love to make those live engaging. So make sure to let us know what are your questions and what are your comments. What I really liked about Isabel's approach is like the three kind of skills, right? Leadership, time management, and cultural differences. I would have to say, I did not expect that. I expected, something more related to maybe team management, and this is time management. So understanding that people, have different skills, different capacities. Some people may be more talented at one thing and others more talented at other things. So it's really about understanding people, right? It's really a human approach. I would be really curious to know if the audience would like to get started being a better leader, more mindful of cultural differences, be better at timing and controlling time and not people. How could they get started? What would be one thing you recommend they do, say Monday when we come back at work? What is one really easy to implement tip or strategy that they could use starting next week to be better at managing teams, projects, people, time, all of that great stuff?
For me, for example, if you are working in a team, it's good to get to know your team in a way that is not work-related, maybe. Take them to lunch, talk to them, get to understand what is important for them, what they really like to be doing, what are their hobbies. I know it sounds a little bit silly, but it's very important for you to understand where they're coming from. So in the future, when you have to undertake a project, you can assign the task that is right for them. Because the number one cause of failure of projects sometimes is because you assign tasks to the wrong people. It's very important that you understand what they're coming from and what's important for them in order to really craft the roles they need to be doing in the project. This is one thing I will do. Also, other advice that is very practical is to know yourself as well. Know yourself when you're more productive. Maybe you're more productive in morning times. Maybe you're more productive during the afternoon. Understand your own needs, your own mind. What I do, for example, I also have rituals. I like to have to start the day with a coffee, some meditation. Maybe for other people, they start doing sports in the morning or they go for a walk. Know yourself and know your team. And this is a very good approach because it's easy to do. It has nothing to do with techniques or to start reading books or to get very knowledgeable about project management. This is something that is very commonsensical and it works for everybody.
Wow, so knowing your team, knowing yourself, taking your team out for lunch, getting to know yourself better. And so by doing so, you will be able to actually better understand how to work with your team and how to work better yourself, be more productive. This is so interesting. I see there was a question here by Treasure Nisha Oshang. I think you're tuning in from Nigeria. And the question is, what's the career path to becoming a Lego project manager? And I'm going to use this question and bounce back at you, Isabel, and the audience to also have everybody share a little bit what you're learning so far on this talk and what else you would love to learn. So let's hear Isabel on the career path for becoming a Lego project manager.
I think for me it was very funny because I always did project management, but I never realized I was doing it from the beginning. It was funny, and I think it's a very practical approach for me because I really like to read and I like to study. I started reading about it online. I started teaching myself how to do it, talking to people. I got a certification in project management. I get a knowledge with the theoretical part, which is very easy to understand. It's not rocket science, as I said before. And then I started getting involved in projects or initiatives at the place I was working that were actually outside the practical, the technical, legal work. As an example, I started to get involved with projects with people who were not the lawyers in the office. I started working in marketing. I started working in business development. So I started to develop a more strategic mind in terms of getting the skills that I needed by learning by imitation of other people doing different things than the lawyer part or the legal part. This is the first thing you need to start approaching, just asking around, talking to people. This has nothing to do with taking a special certification or not, or taking a course. It's about practice. Then if you really want to take it to the next level and you really want to get super knowledgeable about it, there's a lot of resources online where you can get certifications in Kanban, Agile, or Waterfall, or PMBOK. There's a lot of information out there. But my personal opinion, this is very practical. You learn by doing, more than just studying or getting your head into the books. It's better to just practice, ask to people who has more experience than you, been doing this for a long time. I was lucky enough to have great mentors who helped me through this process, and just talk to people who are project managers but are outside the legal industry. They have very powerful insights and they will help you a lot to understand how to manage a project properly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it would be fantastic if the audience could be sharing a little bit with us using this poll on Menti. You have the link in the chat right below this video. Please click on this link and you're going to be able to share a little bit what you have been learning so far on the talk with Isabel. And also we'd like to know what else you would like to learn on this topic. I really believe that Lego project management is absolutely critical for any Lego professional to be able to work better, and not just work better, but work in a way that is more mindful, more productive, and less stressful. Like you have said, Isabel, I really like this analogy of, Lego project management is about happiness. It's about making your clients happy, making your team happy, making yourself happy. And I think we tend to be sometimes overwhelmed. I can relate to that. As an entrepreneur, sometimes I feel there's just so much that I need to do, that the team needs to do. Like the vision we have I dare to dream big and I want to achieve great things, but sometimes I feel overwhelmed. So I think those methodologies are going to be extremely helpful for people like me, for people like Isabel, to really get to achieve their targets without feeling overwhelmed, with bringing joy into the day-to-day life with your team, but also with yourself, right? Feeling good about the work you're producing. So I would like to really encourage the audience to share a little bit with us inside this poll, because this would be super useful to know what you've been learning today with Isabel, what else you would like to learn on Lego project management. I see Sangeeta from India is asking a really interesting question. How could one understand and know the team better, especially if it's remote. So I think let's answer in general, how do you get to understand and know your team better, but also in the specific case where it's remote?
This is a very good question. I think here the temptation is to start booking a lot of meetings and a lot of screen time. Maybe this is not the best way. Maybe in this case, you need to be a little more creative, maybe create experiences closer to gamification or polls or funny things you can do with your team by working remotely that are more laid back. The idea of project management for me is to create an atmosphere or to create a safe space where you can actually express yourself without feeling limited. And when you work remotely, it's harder because you're not having this face-to-face interaction. But I think it's important to create spaces, maybe, I know, some very short meeting or coffee or something that really creates a very relaxed environment so people can express. And when you have a very big teams and they're all remote, I think creativity, it's very important. There's no right answers here. So what I do, for example, I try to show, for example, I have a project where I hosted an award ceremony. So after a project, what we did is that I give awards to people to recognize their work, and very similar how Tessa does in the academy, for example. So it was super fun. I learned it from the academy. And another case, what I do is that I host a retrospective session to understand what went well or what went wrong in a project, which is a very good team building experience, and allows people to express what they feel in a way that is not with a client overseeing that. Or I also book sometimes one-to-one short coffee meetings with my team as well, instead of having everybody, in the same place and having people being more shy than others to speak their minds. It's about, if you know your people, you will know why it works. It doesn't matter if they're working remotely or face-to-face, but I think in my experience, just being creative and stepping out of the comfort zone and hosting these, maybe silly things or silly events really helps to get to people on the same page and they feel really appreciated.
Yeah, I love that. The award ceremony, that was so much fun when we did it.
Yes.
That was in June, I think. We're going to do another one at the end of this year to celebrate all of the graduates from Legal Creatives.
Awesome.
So we're very excited for that. And I'm so happy you're taking some ideas from the Academy and get to implement them. I had a great conversation with another Academy member this week, and he's working at building a community for in-house lawyers. And we got to exchange so many ideas. And I think this is what is the power of community too, is to get to learn from each other's what we can do better. And so this is why, I'm such a fan of this community, because we can learn so much from each other. I see Julian is asking here or commenting, really getting to know people and their strengths mean we can build more balanced and multidisciplinary team. It's essential for lawyers, very thought-provoking. This is so true. And please keep sharing with us on the Menti poll what you have learned today, what else you would like to learn. We have 3 questions for you. Please make sure to go till the next one. There's only one person who managed to get to the end. Who is this person? Maybe this is the person who's going to get the prize. What is the prize? We decided to give a prize to one of the live attendees, just to acknowledge your time, your presence, your participation, and also to show you that we're here to help. We're here to help you become a better project manager, legal project manager especially, and we really want to see you succeed. So Isabel, do you want to share a little bit what we're going to give as a freebie to one of the live attendees?
I was thinking maybe we can give away a Canva project board. You can actually understand what's a project in one page. This is a very easy way to start your project. When you write down for example, your goals, what the project is about, and also a checklist with some project management mantras, what I call. The little tips that will help you to get through the day and to remind yourself which is important when doing a project. Scoping the project properly, managing the time of the people, some Canva also principles like, for example, start finishing and stop starting, don't always multitask, listen before speaking, little things, little tips, and it sounds super commonsensical, but when you see it every day, maybe you have a post-it, or maybe you have a list attached to your screen. It really helps you to find your center and to really achieve better results and be more productive during the day, especially when you're feeling overwhelmed or you have a deadline hanging over your head. It is very good to calm yourself, to pace yourself, to listen, and then to deliver.
So let's see a little bit what the audience has been learning so far. So here we have, let me bring this here back to the stream. All right, so what did you learn today? You've learned that legal project management is fundamental for every legal professional. To avoid feeling overwhelmed, to avoid as well making some mistakes that could have been avoided by using this methodology. You've really enjoyed also Isabel's view on knowing the team better, which is something you will cultivate in your practice, in your day-to-day work. Also, especially when we are remote, this is a big challenge. I can relate to that. And I think we can find creative ways to have virtual events, right? Like the award ceremony to celebrate the success. Yesterday in the academy, we had a networking experience in the virtual space that is Gather Town. We have designed some different atmosphere. So yesterday we were using the beach bar. That was really fun to get to know everybody, what everybody is working on, what everybody's excited about. So that is another way also for you to make your team engage and get to know them better in a casual way using the new tools that are available online. Project management is for everyone, not just the most technical projects. Yes, this is a really good insight. You feel you may need to implement this to achieve your goals without burning out, getting to know your team better. If you were to use those tips, how would this help you? We have two answers here. I would love to hear a little bit more. Please keep sharing here. Keep sharing in the poll. And as you keep sharing in the poll, I want to acknowledge all of this beautiful community. We have many Lego Creatives members here. Cecilia, Nonopa, Dora is here as well. Thank you so much for tuning in live. What if you were to use those methodologies? How would it help you? Better time management, be more structured. What else would you like to learn? Timing tools, how to put all of this in practice. I think the starter pack, Isabel and I are going to share with you is going to be really helpful. Anything else you would like to add, Isabel? Maybe I would ask you a tough question just to spice up before we choose who's going to win the freebie. The last question I may want to share is maybe, it looks like paradise. It looks like a dream thing, like being happy every single day, having your team deliver every single project on time without you having to, shout out your employees. You don't want to do that. Or if you don't shout at them, you don't want to feel stressed inside. So I'm pretty sure you came some challenging situations too, whether it's with the team, whether it's with customers, maybe in this process of digital transformation and bringing customer centricity, you must have had some challenges. Maybe there's one recurring challenge that you can identify from your practice. If you don't mind sharing, that would be super useful for everybody to learn also about the challenges and how to overcome them.
I think one of the main challenges I have faced in the past is when you have clients, for example, that are super attached to a very specific feature of the project. It's funny, for example, I have a client who was very much attached into the color of a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation. I was working in this project and I was actually working with a team. We were actually designing some materials for some trainings for this client. We were focused on the information, the technical quality of the information we were preparing, and the trainings and the teaching materials. And we forgot about this request with the client about the color of a given slide. We forgot it because we were thinking, no, this is not important. We just keep on delivering on the other thing. We just keep on doing our own thing. We didn't listen. So when we showed this to the client, he got disappointed because we didn't listen to them, because we thought his request was not important. So it's super important to know that maybe these very small details that for you can be very, very, ridiculous or not really important, it could mean the world for a client. This is one challenge. And also a very recent challenge that I face is that when you have in this environment a very multicultural team where everybody speaks different languages, some concepts are different for each person. The concept of quality, it could mean something for you, something for your teamwork, team members, something for your client, which is super different. For me, quality in a given team, in a scale to 1 to 10, could mean 5. For your client, could mean 7. For your team workers, could mean 10. When this happens and you have this misalignment or expectations, you end up with an outcome that's not going to be very useful for anybody. Maybe you're going to overwork your team if you think the quality is higher, or the client's going to be disappointed if they thought they were giving you structures that are not very clear or are below their expectations. So I think this is super key, that this is very practical stuff that I experienced last week. This is not something that I just happened a long time ago. This is real things that happens every day when you manage a project. It's not about the big issues. Sometimes it's about the small issues that can make a very big difference.
Yes, I agree. I mean, I know, just thinking about myself, sometimes, I have a specific idea about what I want, and maybe for others it seems ridiculous, but there's an agenda behind anything a client asks. There is a reason, right? It's not just because it looks cool. There's a reason behind it. And I think understanding the why is very important. Why is this important? And understanding, having this curiosity of asking, why is it important? What is your next step? What are you going to do with this? To really understand with an empathic approach what your customer is trying to achieve and why color is important, or why the structure is more important, or whatever is more important, to understand the why and to be able to adapt. I think this is really, really important and difficult to adapt, to change, and this is important, especially if you would like to give a good customer experience. So we're about to finish this live, and I'm really looking forward to see who has answered here the poll. If you have not, this is the QR code you need to scan with your phone to answer 3 quick questions about today's live with Isabel Venegas. You can also open a new web page, go to menti.com and use this code 70154846. And make sure to share with us, because Isabel has generously shared today a lot of practical tips for you, and we'd love to know what you have learned. It's a great way for us to get your feedback, and also to know what else you would like to learn. Is there anything we missed today? Anything that you really want or you really need to better work with your team, to better deliver an experience to your customers? And so here we have 7 answers in the first question, but we only have 2 in the second and the last question. Make sure to go to the poll and share the second and last question as well, because that is what is really important for us to continue sharing those insights, sharing those techniques. So please, please, please make sure to answer until the last question, because we also, Isabel is going to give a little something as well to those persons. So last words before we go. Last words, Isabel. Maybe I could ask you, if there is some resource that are available, and what could be those resources for the people to get to dive deeper into this?
I think one of the first resources when you start a project is very basic. You need to start writing down what is called a project charter or a project brief. This could be maybe an email or a piece of paper where you really organize yourself or what you need to do. It could be a small checklist. It could be something that you can actually go to when you forget the client scope. This is very important. Also, it's important when you talk to a client and you want to take notes of what they're saying. Sometimes it's good to ask them if you can record the meeting, if you're working remotely, to really understand what they really want. It's very easy to forget after you hang up a call or you start working or not paying attention, to miss very important things. So I will encourage you to start listening more. It could be listening to more and taking notes. It could be recording the meeting, anything that will help you to get a better sense of what the client wants. Ask a lot of questions. When you have doubts, don't make any assumptions. This is very, very important. And also in terms of techniques, what I do, I try to have a Kanban board very similar to the one I have there. It's very easy to build. You need to have 3 columns, the to-do columns, the working that the pipeline of work you need to be doing, work in progress, and work done. It's very nice because it gives you a sense of what you're doing, what are your goals, what are you accomplishing. And in terms of legal tech technologies, what I use is Trello. Trello is a very easy tool to use. It's free. You can have a subscription for free, and you can start building this board with yourself. There's a lot of tools out there that are really easy to implement, and they're for free. You don't need to pay a very expensive subscription for it. So I think you just start small with little things, little changes. Checklist every day, maybe Post-its works better for you. Listen more, not make any assumptions, and write down everything you need to know about a project. Do proper scope. That would be my advice.
Yeah, thanks, Isabel. I love that. Trello is a fantastic tool. We use it too. We also love Miro as a Post-it virtual whiteboard for collaboration. We also use Gather Town. I know Sangeeta, she got to host an event on the Gather Town. Sangeeta from India for her workshop. That is really fun to bring interactivity. We even got to play games. It was so much fun. We got to play games because in GatherTown, you have like a little avatar that is moving in space. Nice. So it's not like a Zoom or like a live event like this where you kind of in your little box, in the GatherTown, you're all together with your avatar, you're moving around. So it's kind of really fun to have great interactions. Now, we're about to finish this. What if you were to implement what you have learned today? How would it help you? Let us know right now in the chat. How would it help you if you were to implement the strategies? Isabel shared a lot today. She talked about getting to know your team better, getting to know your client better, getting to use some tools that will help you better visualize your projects and better collaborate with your team. She also shared about the importance of being a good leader, knowing yourself. She also mentioned that you need to be mindful of cultural differences. And if the client is asking for something, there must be a reason. Let's investigate the why. What if you were to implement all of that in your day-to-day work? How would this help you? Please let us know right now in the chat. This is also how we're going to be able to see who is going to win the freebie. That is this checklist that Isabel is going to prepare for you, because we're going to give it to the most engaged live attendee. And also let us know what else you would like to learn. What else would you like to learn about Lego project management? I see in the Menti poll we had some answers here about the tools to time the projects and the task, how to be a good project manager. Want to learn more about how you manage your team, especially Isabel, how to put all of this in practice. Make sure to share with us, because we're going to start I'm going to start to see here who was the most engaged person to designate the winner for this live. Isabel, thank you so much. It's been really fun to talk to you. Really insightful, very instructive and informative. I have to say, I'm a fan of your work in Lego project management, because, I probably, like many of you who are watching live or watching the replay, you're thinking, wow, what is this thing? It must be really complicated. But you make it easy. You make it accessible. You make it fun. You make it interactive. So I want to thank you for your time today and for the work that you're doing. And really look forward to seeing you, share even more and help other lawyers really use those methodologies. One last word. I'm looking here at the chat. Did you see anyone who was most engaged, Isabel?
I see people speaking, but it's not as the same as you see it in LinkedIn. But I see a lot of familiar faces, which I love.
Was there anyone that you thought provided an insightful comment or question that got your attention? I'm looking here. It's difficult, huh? It's difficult to choose. Huh?
Every question was super insightful, and every comment I really loved. So I'm not
Well,
very
you
good
know
judge.
what we're gonna do? Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do something. We're gonna give it to all the live attendees. All right, we're gonna give this checklist to all of the live attendees. But
Perfect.
you need to send an email right now to hello@legocreatives to get the freebie. So you will get it. We're gonna work on it with Isabel. It's probably gonna be ready, like, I don't know, next week maybe.
Next week, I have it.
Next week. So send an email right now to Lego Creatives so we know you are live. And this is how we get to send you the freebie. But you have to email us now. If you don't email us, well, we won't know that you are live, so we won't be able to send you anything. So please, please, please don't be shy. Send us a quick email. In the email, you can also mention additional information, questions about Isabel, Lego project management, Lego Creatives. It's been great. It's been great to be with you today, Isabel. I want to thank you for your time and for being here. I look forward to this freebie and getting more insights from the community. And Isabel, yeah, let's see what comes next, right?
Of course, thank you for the invitation. I really love to talk about this topic. It's really a passion of mine. So feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn whenever you need. So perfect. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. I see you. We have some more questions. Send them to hello@legocreatives.com and we'll make sure to answer them by email with Isabel and get to send you this freebie. Isabel, best of success with the transformation project you're working on at your law firm. I really think this is going to be a big success. I can't wait to read the case study and to let everybody know about what you're doing and what kind of outcome we can get with Lego project management. Thanks again, Isabel, for being here.
Thank you, Tessa. Thank you, everybody, for attending this live.
Thanks, everybody who joined. Thank you for being here. Tell your friends, tell your network. Every Wednesdays and Fridays, you're going to have a live talk like this with an expert. So make sure to follow my profile, Tessa Manuelo. Make sure to also share with your network. We already have great experts lined up for the next couple of weeks. If you would like to nominate someone or if you would like to speak yourself, please send an email, hello@legocreatives.com. This is also how you're going to get your freebie, your Lego project management checklist. So don't be shy. This is community. Let's be here together. Thanks, Beatrice, for being here. Thanks, Sangeeta, for your little comment here. So nice to hear you have learned some techniques for organizing your work and be more mindful of time management and the importance of getting to know the team better. Dora, for this question, we answered it in the beginning of the live. You can go back. You can also send an email and we'll send you the checklist. Thanks again, everybody, for being there. And I'll see you on another live for the Lego Creatives Live Talk. Have a great day, everybody.